In this video, we are going through question 9. It's a bit of a big question. Um, so the question says that there are 3 deals available at a fair. Okay, so deal number 1 is that you pay $10 to come inside, and then for each of the ride, it's going to cost $4. All right. Deal number 2, you pay $20 to get into the fair, and then for the rides, they cost $1 each. And then if you pay $30, then you get into the fair and all the rides are free for you. Okay. So the first thing we need to do here is to write an expression for the total cost of n rides using deal number 1. Okay. So for A here, okay, so the cost, so this cost includes an entry fee of $10, right? So, you have to pay $10 to get inside, okay? And then if you go on rides, then each of the rides will cost you $4. Now here, they give us the letter N to use for the number of rides that you are going on, right? So what we have to do then, so say if you go on only 1 ride, that's going to cost you an extra $4. If you go on 2 rides, that's going to cost you an extra $8, right? So what we're doing there is we're taking the $4 per ride and we're multiplying it by the number of rides, so n. So here, what we have is 10 plus 4n, okay? And this is our expression for the cost of deal 1. Then for B, we have to write an expression for the cost of deal number 2. Okay, so deal number 2, what do we have? So first of all, just to get into the fair, you need to pay $20, right? And then for each ride, it's going to cost you $1. Okay, so what we have here is $1 for each ride multiplied by the number of rides, so times n. So what do we have? So we're going to have 20 plus. Now, remember that for algebra, we don't have to write the number 1. So this is just going to be, so 1 times n is 1n. But because we don't have to write the 1, so it's just going to be n. Okay? And then for C, we have to write the total cost for deal number 3. So how much is going to cost you? Well, it's going to cost you $30 to get into the fair. And then all the rides are free. So that's it. That's the cost. It doesn't matter how many rides you go on, it's going to cost you $30 in total. And that's it. For D, which of the 3 deals is best for someone going on just 2 rides? Okay. So what it's saying is that, okay, so let's say n, so because they're going on 2 rides, so n is equal to 2. And we're going to substitute this into each of the equation. So for deal number 1, okay, and we're going to do it for deal number 2, and then we're going to do it again for deal number 3. So deal number 1, we got, the cost is $10 to get into the fair, plus 4 times 2 for the number of rides. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus the 10, that's going to give us 18. So it's going to cost that person $18. For deal number 2, it's going to cost them $2 to get into the fair, and then $1 for each of the rides for 2 rides. So we have 20 plus 1 times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. 2 plus 20 is 22. And then for deal number 3, it's gonna cost them $30. Okay, so comparing these 3 deals, we can see that hey, deal number 1 is the best. Oh, the best deal is deal number 1. Okay, for this person. So you can see here that algebra can be useful for us to use to make decisions, like so what is the best thing we can get out. Next we have E. So E asks which of the 3 deals is best for someone going on 20 rides. Okay, so again, very similar to what we did in D, we are going to calculate the cost for each of the deal. So deal number 1, deal number 2, and deal number 3. For N, this time N is 20. All right, so for deal number 1, we have $10 entry fee plus $4 times 20 rides. Okay, so 4 times 20, that's 80. 80 plus 10, that's $90. That is a lot of money. And then for deal number 2, we have $20 entry fee and $1 per ride times by 20 rides. So we have 1 times 20 is 20 plus another 20, that's 40. So significantly better, cheaper than deal number 1 there. And then finally we have deal number 3, and that's just going to cost us $30 entry fee there. So we can see here that, hey, the best deal is deal number 3 in this case. Okay, so you can see that our decision would change as the number of rides changes. And then finally we have F. It says for us to fill in the gaps. So deal 1 is best for people wanting up to how many rides there. And then deal 2 is best for people wanting between some amount and some amount of rides. And then deal number 3 is best for people wanting more than 30 rides. Okay, so so let's think about this. Okay. Now, one of the easiest way for us to answer F is to make a table. So this table would have at the top n. So n, let's start with n being 0. So this means that you go into the fair without going on any ride. Okay, and then we have n equal to 1 ride, 2 ride, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I think I have enough space for 11. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the cost for each of the deal. Okay, so deal number 1, deal number 2, and deal number 3. Okay, so how does it work? So what we do is we're going to substitute each of the value for n here, each of these numbers, into the formulas for the deal. Okay, and I'm going to write the formula again. You guys would have this on your page from question A, B, and C. So for deal number 1, okay, the cost is $10 plus 4 times n. For deal number 2 is $20 plus 1 times n, and for deal number 3 it's going to be $30. So for deal number 3, okay, the easiest one for me to fill out now is deal number 3, because it doesn't matter how many rides I'm going on, it's always going to be $30. Please excuse me for the small writing here. It's just I'm running out of space. All right. So deal number 3, again, doesn't matter how many rides you go on. It's just going to be $30 for you to enter the fare. Now for deal number 1, so if you go on no ride, okay, so 4 times 0, that's 0, plus 10 is 10. So you pay $10 of the entry fee, right? For deal number 2, if you just enter the fare and go on no rides, that's going to cost you 20, right? Or you can do 20 plus 1 times 0. So 1 times 0 is 0, plus 20 is 20, okay? So that makes sense. If you go on one ride, okay, so 4 times 1, that's 4, plus 10, that's 14. That's for deal number 1. For deal number 2, for one ride, that's $1. So 20 plus $1 here, that's going to give you 21. Okay, for 2 rides, for deal number 1, it's 4 times 2, that's 8, plus 10 is 18. For deal number 2, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 20 is 22. Now you probably can see a pattern going on here, but I'm going to do one more for 3. For 3 rides, you have 3 times 4, that's 12, plus 10 is 22. And for deal number 2, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 20 is 23. Okay, so, oh, did I make a mistake there? That should be 22. Okay. All right, so what we have here is that deal number 1 so far, up to 3 rides, is still the best one. Now, you can continue using the formulas to fill out the table here, but at the same time, I can see that each time for deal number 1, it's go up by $4, okay? And that makes sense because, you know, each of the rides costs $4. So the more you go, the more rides you go on, you're gonna cost a bit more, okay? So this is gonna be 26, okay? Next one's gonna be 30, then 34, 38, 42. This would be 46, 50, and 54. For deal number 2, every single time it's going to cost $1 more, right? Okay, so it's going to be 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31. Oh, 31. So we can see here that for deal number 1, it's still good up to 3 rides, okay? For deal number 2, so you can see here that it's the best one when you go 4 rides and more, up to 10 rides, right? And for deal number 3, if you want to go more than 10 rides, so 11 rides and above, you should go with deal number 3.